Welcome to Partners in Health and Biz with your host, Wendy Meyerhoff. Tune in every Saturday for great shows about obtaining and maintaining health, business, and finance. Learn from the experts here at PIHradio.net. And now, broadcasting from the Partners in Health and Biz studio, here's Wendy.
Hello again, folks. This is Wendy Meyerhoff, the business co-anchor of Partners in Health and Biz, and I thank my colleague again, Gail Dixon, for her great intro. This episode, I welcome not one, not two, but three experts, leaders in the field of what's called bioprinting. Now, don't hang up on us, because this is such fascinating stuff from the business side for our health leaders, for the IT and other geeks. So I want you to understand we're going to make this as understandable as possible for everybody. My guests are the authors of a book with pretty much the name of this week's show. It's Medical 3D Bioprinting, The Revolution in Medicine. So let me introduce them, and I apologize up front for any mispronunciation, though I did try to practice with them before the show. So I have here the three leaders are Aviva Lev-Ari, who's both a PhD and an RN. She's director and founder of Leaders in Pharmaceutical Business Intelligence Group, and they're based in Newton, Massachusetts. Irina Robu, another PhD, works at the Pharmaceutical Business Intelligence Group, but she's also a professor teaching chemistry, physics, and math in Canada. And Stephen J. Williams, another PhD, is a professor in biology at Temple University's College of Science and Technology in Philadelphia, PA. And that's just a very summarized understanding of who all these three great people are. So welcome aboard, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the first challenge, we're talking bioprinting, but that doesn't mean everybody in my healthcare audience and even the consumers who tune in understand this. So first, one or all of you can give an explanation of what bioprinting is.
Bioprinting is basically the process by which you can actually create a three-dimensional structure which is made of what we call bioactive materials, including living cells, to produce an organ, a biological tissue, in addition to, for example, like an ear, an organ like an ovary, even much like a bone. Or in some cases, a whole face has been reconstructed using this new type of technology called 3D bioprinting.
All right, well, that's a pretty good understanding of it. So why don't one of the others of you tell me, why are we doing this? What are the benefits of the bioprinting process?
Well, I guess I would answer that question. I guess one of the benefits of bioprinting is to eliminate the rejection. As you probably are aware, a lot of people are required to have transplanted organ. So it's to eliminate basically the rejection of the transplanted organ by using the patient's own cells to produce that organ. The other thing, too, as you know, is when you have a transplanted organ, you're required to take immunosuppressant drugs.
Right.
So using a patient's own organ, own cells, this would eradicate the immunosuppressant therapy required, so the bad side of effects. It would also provide the functionality with a capability very similar to the original organ, since you're using the patient's own cell. And it would also minimize the need for organ donors. As you probably are aware that as both in U.S. and Canada, there's a limitation in terms of organ donors, as well as depending what type of organs. Oh, go ahead.
Some people may donate their retinas their corneas, or they may kidneys we know more about, but Lord knows what else we need, and not everybody thinks about it.
The other thing, too, is also it increases the longevity without compromising the quality of life because you're using the patient's own cells. So it reduces the amount of immunosuppressant. As you're probably aware that one of the, I guess, the greatest care for anybody that's requiring a transplant, will the organ be able to be compatible? Even though a lot of the hospitals do all the required testing, would it be compatible to the patient? Would the body accept it?
Yeah, so, I mean, as you say, the hospitals, the ones, all the ones that obviously obey all the regulations, and there's quite a checklist from what I understand, they're going to do their very best to make things compatible, but it's not always absolute, and, you know, the human body's a fun thing. But you're making it even more fun. So you can actually take cells, and the next thing I know, I have an extra kidney if I need it, right?
Well, one of the things is in order to bioprint kidneys or heart is one of the complex organs. So recently, the only thing that they're able to, I guess, bioprint effectively and also put it in clinical use would be mostly cartilage, bone. You've probably seen on the news regarding an ear. So a lot of the easiest part of the organs, I guess, but it's still complex for lungs, heart, and kidneys. So there's still a lot of small interchanges that needs to be taken care of before we can actually bioprint that whole organ.
But it can be done, and you can actually, like I have a nephew, he's a set of twins, and for some reason the way he was in the uterus, he had one ear totally misshapen. So does that mean you could take a bioprint of the other ear and next thing I know, transplant it onto him?
Exactly.
So to connect to that task at hand, for example, to produce a mirror image of the ear that has not been reshaped, we will need to use bioglue to glue the new artificially manufactured second ear. So 3D printing is a technology that enables to use a printer for biological materials that will produce surgical glues instead of traditional wound closure techniques. So techniques like stitches, staples, and clips. So in case of injury or damage of the wound side, there are surgical glues produced by 3D printing. They are effectively needed to be very strong, flexible, non-toxic, and able to accommodate movement, yet they are no adhesive and currently available that have all of these properties, inspired by glue secreted by a common slug that is biocompatible, flexible, and can stick to dynamically moving tissues even in the presence of blood. I would like to mention another application which is of great importance. It is for a progress was done toward the 3D bioprinting of blood supply, steps toward production of functional blood vessels, so as they would replace part of the vasculature.
So you could replace an aorta if it was damaged or something like that?
Yes.
Could I clarify that too, though?
Yeah, that would be nice.
A bioglue is basically a protein collagen, like a protein hydrogel that binds to the tissue.
Okay.
So it's basically like you would if you're aware of a gluey hydrogel, and that you would actually put in there, and then as it hardens, well, it would be created like a wound suture instead of actually suturing like standard suture.
Yeah, and we don't have to worry about absorbing threads, even as finely as we've made them, all that sort of thing. So it just, boom, sticks together, and there you go, just like getting my hand stuck with crazy glue, essentially.
Exactly. It's essentially like a kid getting crazy glue.
And if I might add one extra thing, and what she had mentioned was very important, the bioprinting produces a functional tissue. So the field has rapidly evolved into now what we call actually 4D printing. So
wow.
Instead of making a three-dimensional structure, the fourth dimension is that the tissue responds to some other variable like pressure, or it changes based on a certain time. Or so, for instance, people have tried to 3D bioprint heart valves.
Right.
So, as you know, a heart valve will move a certain way based upon the pressure that's in either in the atria or the ventricles, and the valve can respond to pressure changes. So the shape of the valve will also change as well.
So you can individualize this, because I know it came out of an advertisement in National Geo as we are taping this. My husband pointed it out to me, and it's an ad about the biopharma industry, I believe, and it's talking about actually making medicines for epilepsy and how tricky it is because of all the variables in each individual. It's not just as easy as saying, oh, well, this one has partial whatever seizures. So here, if someone's really a jogger, they're going to have a heart that's really moving around, whereas another one is pretty much confined to bed. The heart's not going to be quite as stressed most of the time. So you're going to have these individualized capabilities, yes?
Well,
yes, and really you're trying to get to a level where you are basically mimicking nature by using this bioprinting technology.
Wow.
And I think actually, Irina, and we discussed in the book, there's even an added feature where you can now incorporate different sensor technologies in with this bioprinting of tissues, so you can actually record a lot of other changes that are occurring within the tissue and get sort of like a more personalized readout of what's happening in each patient. But I think Dr. Levery and Dr. Robo can expand on that.
One thing that I want to add to that is also, as you're probably aware, a lot of the drugs are tested on animal testing. So
right.
if you can bioprint an organ of a patient that is very sick, you can also substantially reduce the reliance on animal testing for pharmaceutical products, right? You don't want to. So it's a way of actually testing using the patient's organs, but it would reduce the animal testing as.
So do you think we can get the drugs approved faster?
I don't think it's the drugs approved faster. I think it's the reliance on animal testing. A lot of people, as you probably are aware, that you want to be able to reproduce the organ exactly. And even with the animal testing, even though it's similar, there's still discrepancy between a human being and a dog and a pig or a rat and so on.
Yeah. So if I do, would you then create, let's say, a heart specifically and test a drug for cholesterol or high blood pressure or whatever on a heart specifically, or how would you do the testing?
I think you would be doing it on the cells, on the heart cells, like the damaged heart cells. So you could create a. Go ahead, Dr. Williams.
So Organova has actually done this, the company Organova, and they have a system where they have a bioprinted human liver. And they have been successfully able to correlate a lot of the previous results, toxicology results, of many drugs that have produced liver injuries and have failed to progress out of preclinical development through phase 1, phase 2, mainly because that these drugs produced liver injury in humans. They were able, by using this human bioprinted liver system, to actually better predict what drugs would actually fail in that regard, which is in most cases why a lot of drugs actually fail to get through in clinical